Welcome to the Virginia is for Sports podcast with your hosts, Kevin Flippin as Flip, Paul Gilman as PG Fitty P, and Kenny Wingle as K-Dub. Let's play VA.
I am excited tonight. We've got Rasheed Wright coming on. His girls team last month just won the state championship at the highest level for Virginia high school sports. And I learned that they went to the championship game back-to-back years, lost 2 years ago, won this past year. So I'm excited to hear his perspective on that. Also excited because we're going to the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. That includes a breakfast and a Q&A. Kenny, you and I are going. We offered to get Kevin to go. And Kevin, what do you have going on that prevents you from going to the most important thing in Virginia sports each year?
Wow. My son is a baseball tournament. Thank you very much. But
you're a better father than you are podcaster, is what you're saying.
I hope so.
Hey, what state is the tournament in, Flip?
It's in Virginia.
Nice.
So
there you go. He's going to Virginia sports, so we expect to get a report.
A little content. All right.
Sure.
All right, coaches, we're getting ready to come in. I'm going to bring him in.
Yes, sir. Not yet.
Coach, you ready to go?
I was born ready.
Yeah.
Coach, I'm Paul. My nickname on this podcast is PG 50P or 50P because PG, those are my initials. And then Kenny thought it was funny to let the world know that I'm older than 50.
Okay.
50 plus is what that stands for.
Gotcha.
Flip and KW, y'all want to intro yourselves?
Coach. Hey, Coach. My name is Kevin Flip. I go by Flip. I've been going by Flip since I was probably knee-high to a grasshopper. So nice to meet you, man. So honored to have you on the podcast tonight, man.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, too.
Yep. Coach K-Dub, I know you watched all of our episodes of our podcast so far, so I know you're familiar with the hilarity that I am on this podcast. So excited to talk with you. Super excited about the basketball that you've done and the connection. So happy to have you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, Coach, you joined us on somewhat short notice. You were driving back from an AAU tournament, Philly Sunday, and we're going to get into that a little bit, how hectic basketball is for you. Because you're a year-round basketball guy, right?
Yes, I'm a basketball lifer.
Yeah. So I have to mention Chris Gaskell connected us. I think you and Chris know each other because Chris coached your daughter in softball.
Correct.
Yeah, and he's a good guy, and he said we would be really lucky to have you join us on the podcast. So shout out to Chris for connecting us.
Yeah, thank you. That's nice of him. Great guy. I'm very picky of who I put my kids around. He did a great job coaching my daughter. Great guy, great family. Yeah,
Coach, not to give proper due to your career because it is a long career, and you said it, you've had a life in basketball. High school star to star at ODU. I think you averaged 15 points your senior year at ODU. You spent 13 years, and I just learned this today, Coach. All of it was in France. 13 years in France.
Yes.
That's a really long time to be in a foreign country, and you told me you're fluent, right?
I'm fluent in French. My oldest daughter still speaks French. My wife speaks French. It's a huge part of who we are as a family.
And do you guys speak it in the house still?
Every now and then, not as much as I wish we did, but I'll have my moments where I only speak French, or we'll be out somewhere and we'll start speaking French amongst each other. I can turn into a French man at any moment. I could be at a grocery store and go straight French. Nobody would know the difference.
Well, do you ever go back? Because you've been back in the States for about 8 years, right?
8 years, yes. I have not been back since I retired, and that is something that is definitely on my list of things to do.
Well, I'd love to talk to you a lot about your experiences in France and playing college basketball, but I think we're going to focus mostly on you as a coach at Manchester. So the last couple of years have been pretty exciting for the Manchester girls basketball team, the Lancers. High level, tell us about the last couple of seasons for you guys.
Well, we made it to the state championship game, first time in school history last year. Came up short, ended up losing by 3 in overtime, and then we made it all the way back this year. We lost 6 games last year, only lost 2 this year. Made it back and won a state championship, and so we made history. But it's really hard for me to talk about those 2 seasons without the 3 seasons in front of it, and really more than that. A lot of the kids who were on that team, I met them when they were in 3rd graders, 4th graders, 5th graders, 6th graders when I first came home from France. I never thought that I was going to be coaching basketball, let alone coaching girls. But it was actually my wife. When we first got home, my oldest daughter was a 4th grader. She started playing rec. And I have 4 daughters. I have 3 sisters. My mom has 3 sisters. My dad has 4 sisters. Like this is I don't have no choice, man. I'm sitting over on the side.
Come on, girl dad.
Yes, yeah, I'm a proud girl dad, man. But I was sitting on the sidelines of my daughter's rec game. My wife was sitting beside me and just looked over at me and was like, "You're gonna sit over here and just watch this?" I done told that story plenty of times. That's what I'm like. What am I supposed to do? You need to be out here coaching these girls. And then she talked me into it, and then that kind of just started this whole thing that just accumulated into a state championship this season.
And that state championship's the first one in school history.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so back-to-back visits to the championship game and then winning it this past season about a month ago, right?
Yes. Yep. March 9th, we won state championship.
And the fact that y'all beat Thomas Dale, and you were telling me Sunday, like there's a lot of talent in Chesterfield County.
Yes.
So the highest level Class 6 basketball and 2 teams from Chesterfield County playing for the championship, that's crazy.
I saw it when I got home. So maybe the best player for Thomas Dale, her name is Nyla Wilson. When I started coaching that rec team, we lost in the championship game. I was coaching Spring Run's rec team. We lost in the championship game to a Wales Association team, and Nyla was on that team. So they played against each other championship games in rec. And then my daughter was at Bailey Bridge Middle School. Nyla was at Carver. They played against each other twice, losing one, winning one for rain. And then we played against each other again here. So there's another young lady named Lainey Grant in this area. This is a phenomenal basketball player. Those 3 players I saw when we moved here from France. And I'm just looking at these 4th grade, 5th grade girls. And I'm like, I don't think this is normal that girls at this age are supposed to be this advanced. And then I just saw this turn into something amazing. I saw it coming. I got to see it early.
So your wife was right. You're glad she pushed you in that direction.
Yes. That is not something I'm always glad about. I have to give her props on that one. When I tell this story, I salute her every time. If y'all are married men, y'all know how that go. She had this one perfectly pegged, and I did not think she knew what she was talking about. She was absolutely right.
That's beautiful. Flip, what do you got?
That is awesome, Coach. I love that. So I got a question. Coach Simondera, the baseball coach for St. Christopher's, was on a couple weeks ago, and he talked about the kids that are coming into his program. He's the high school coach. I don't know if he used the word more prepared now than they used to be, but he talked about all of them having a pitching coach, a fielding coach, a batting coach, a spitting seeds coach. I mean, they have a coach for absolutely everything as they're coming up. And so what he had to do was teach his staff and himself to kind of coach the ancillary things or the mental aspect of the game and the scenarios. And that's baseball. So is it the same in basketball, or are you finding that you're not as coaching as much the skill or the talent, but more the scenarios and what happens in games?
Well, I'm kind of in a unique position of being a trainer and a coach. I'm a trainer at heart, right? I was a gym rat. I'm still a gym rat. I just love sweating. I love working hard. I love finding nuances and ways to get better. And when you play 13 years professionally, you age into a space where you have to start using your brain way more than you're using your physical. And to me, the girls' game lines up perfectly with how I played the last 5 years of my career. It's much more cerebral, much more skill. And so in Europe, you see these kids being taught what we would call elite moves at very young ages. They do a lot of practicing on these things. They don't have a middle school team and a high school team and an AAU team and I-9, and they don't have that. If you're going to play basketball, you're going to play basketball in the club. You're going to learn these skills, and you're going to methodically go through the process of developing. And then once you get about 14, 15, if you're good enough, you're going to go play with the pro team. Right. So that's how that, like Rudy Gobert, Evan Fournier, that played with the Knicks, was my teammate for 2 seasons. Like, that's how that process goes. And so when I got back home, I saw all these tiers. Right. So I just immediately, once I got around kids and I started getting into coaching, I just opened it up. Like, I would allow them to make mistakes. I would allow them to get reads, to make reads. I teach them how to use their brains. We will work on skills, and then I allow them to apply the skills, and I coach them through what they're doing instead of restricting them.
No, that's a great question. So that kind of leads me into the next question. So what do you find that you and your staff have to do to kind of help these kids off the court of basketball? Because there's so many things now, social media, and I'm sure recruiters and things that are coming at them. How do you guys and girls, I don't know who your makeup of your staff, but what are you guys doing to kind of help the athletes off the court?
Well, I have an all-female staff. Once I got the high school job, I realized that I'm out my league coaching high school girls. I have an expertise in one area. All the other areas, I need a female staff with me because I need all of their help and support. To answer your question, man, we just kind of like, you have to learn the kids. You have to learn who they are. You have to actually care about who each individual kid is. And then once you kind of figure that out, you coach them and you talk to them and you work with them according to their personalities. So I think it forces us as coaches to adapt, to be better listeners, to be more aware of what's happening, to kind of get out of our own ways. Not about all what I want. Yes, I have an objective, and there's a discipline in basketball, but you have to be willing to say, hey, this thought process I had here is not working. Let's go with the one that's more effective, even if it's not from me.
I love it. I love it. Building relationships, man. It's the core of life, right? I love it.
Yes. I call basketball life school. Like, we're using basketball to teach these kids life principles. If they go on to get a scholarship or play professionally, great. But to me, my biggest gift is for them to be prepared adults going into the world that can use their brain and make reads.
Yep. I love it. K-Dub, what do you got, bud?
Hey, Coach, I want to hear more about, I think it's a good lead into pro skills and how you got involved with that. I know you're the director of the pro skills, which I see a ton of advertising about. I know it's popular around town. So tell us more about that.
Well, very similar things, man. I got home. My best friend, who's an assistant coach at Virginia State right now, I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. So we met when we were 16 years old. We went and played college basketball together at ODU. He went on to have a 12-year professional career, retired a little bit before me, and his wife and my wife both went to ODU, and they're both from Midlothian. So he started a training company before I got done playing. And when I came home, we just dove head first into training kids of all different skill levels. A lot of the kids over the past 8 years in this area. And then we formed teams. Parents talked us into forming teams. And when we kind of got out into the AAU world, some of the toxic environments that I saw, it just didn't line up with what I wanted to do. Give me the kids everybody else don't want. That's how I want. Give me the kids need to learn how to use their left hand. They love the game. They want to work together as a team. Sometimes those higher level players and everything that surrounds that can be very toxic, and it goes away from the essence of the game. And I just truly love the game. So Pro Skills is a national organization, and the director in Raleigh was my teammate for a couple of years overseas. And I played college. We worked out together in the summer every single day. So it's somebody I trust. And I would just kind of tell him that I wish there was a better way to teach these kids the game. And he introduced me to Pro Skills. And the guys that started that, I played against them in France. So there we go back to that word relationships we're talking about again. And this is just some former pros who saw the same thing in the youth basketball environment that they felt could be done better, and with a code of conduct and pro skills. We're not just talking about basketball, really focusing on things to help kids be better adults using the game of basketball. And so I decided to do that in 2019 and build it from scratch.
Yeah, you've done a great job with it. So kudos to you. So leading into that, what percentage do you think you grew up in Greensboro and you grew up with American influence basketball, right? So then you go play in France. So what percentage of your coaching do you think is American influence versus the European influence of the game?
It's a blend. It's a blend. I was a scorer in high school, all-time leading scorer in high school. I scored 1,000 points in college. I was a scorer overseas, especially in my beginning years. I had an American mindset. Kill. I'm trying to kill everything moving. But I was really trying to win. And I kept coming up short. And then I played for a team in Vichy, France with a guy named Jamal Ball that played at Akron University. And he kind of helped me understand that I was going to have to sacrifice some of my individual talent for the success of the team. And that was probably one of my toughest years as far as statistically and trying to figure out how do I fit in with this group. But the following year, I meshed with another team and we won a championship. And I learned how to win through that process. So coming home is teaching these kids how to sacrifice. Like we had our center this year is ranked number 71 in the country, and she's going to play at Georgia next year. She could have very easily averaged 30 points a game this year. She averaged right at 20 because we shared the basketball and we understood that it is harder to beat 5 than to beat 1. And so that's why I'm not a big stats guy. I know some of the people who probably grew up playing basketball with me cannot believe that I'm actually saying that now. But I mean, I find that the kids find more joy in playing together when they all feel like they're part of what's going on.
Evolving.
It's a lot easier that way.
Yes, it is.
PG, can I get one more in real quick? Because I know you're saying any baller. I know you can yak on people, Coach. So I want to hear about your best dunk that you've ever had. You don't have to be humble about it. I know you got a nice dunk on somebody.
Yeah, I'm going to say my best dunk is probably my first one ever. My junior year. It was my first one in high school. It's not the first time I dunked, but it's my junior year, and we're playing against a rival. And my best friend, we've been friends since we're 6 years old. He's my best friend to this day, little point guard. We have been working on throwing lobs in the driveway. And so he's been pressured full court, bringing the ball up the court, is at home at Southern Guilford High School. And so we had stole this signal from a team that we looked up to growing up that had Brendan Haywood on it. It was a monster team. And they had a lob play where they had this signal. So he starts coming up the court, patting his head. And I'm in the corner. We're playing against zone. I'm in the corner, and I'm looking at him. Now, we're going completely against what the coach said to do. And I'm looking at him like, there's no way. Only me and him know what's going on. I'm like, there's no way you about to throw this lob. And he gets like, I don't know, 5 feet from the 3-point line and just launches the ball. And off instinct, I went to go get the ball, and it fell kind of short. So I was coming from the baseline side, and when I jumped to grab the ball, the guy in the middle of the zone jumped to get the ball too. And I just caught it and just turned it over. Boom! Like it almost happened, and I didn't know what happened. And that was my first high school dunk. So, I mean, that's probably my best one.
How is your
Your
first?
boy was like, it's time. It's like a movie.
Yes.
It's time. Let's go.
Yes.
I'm doing it.
We talk about that all the time. I cannot believe he did it, but I'm glad he did.
Well, a couple things there, Coach. Your first dunk wasn't a breakaway, one-on-none kind of dunk. It was a redirect the ball against a zone.
Well, my first dunk in the game was a breakaway in AAU that summer. My first high school dunk. So, my first breakaway dunk was that summer. This was the first one back in high school in front of all your classmates at home against our rival. It was an instinct that happened. It wasn't planned. It was perfect.
Coach, this is a Virginia-based sports podcast, and I think we've said North Carolina 2 or 3 times. I want to be clear for the listening audience. Coach lives here now. Yes. He's been here for 8 years, coaching Manchester for the last 5, but coaching kids in basketball here for 8 years. You played at ODU. Yes. In the first 6 years of your life, you were in Virginia. You were born in Virginia, right?
I was born in Richmond, Virginia, right near Southside Plaza, Henrico Doctors. And we moved to Greensboro, North Carolina when I was 5. But my mother is from Sussex County. I mean, we have land down in Sussex County that's been in our family almost 100 years. I used to come there every summer. My first cousin is the head girls basketball coach at Petersburg High School. I have cousins all through Petersburg, all through Richmond. Like, my family is really, really deep in the 757-804 area.
So, Coach, when
Massenburg, right? Tony Massenburg, Sussex.
Okay, so they're from down that area too. So I am cousins with a Massenburg that actually went to ODU with me. Yes.
Yeah, I played at King William, so we played back in my day. Sussex County was in our district with Charles City and all that, Franklin County, all that.
Yep.
So, Coach, when we spoke a few days ago, you were telling me about how much traveling you're going to be doing out, what I would consider out of season. I grew up, basketball is a winter sport. It certainly is for the schools, whether it's high school or college level. But can you walk me through what a full 12 months is like for you and what it's like for your oldest daughter, Rain?
Yes, it is. I mean, it is basketball all the time, especially here these last 2 years. So if we start like at the beginning of the high school season, and it's hard to kind of pinpoint when that is. Okay, so let's just say in August. Once the school has started, we've already been working once August gets here. So we're in the weight room, we're on the track, we're running hills, we're stretching, we're doing plyometric work, we're preparing our bodies for a grueling 4 months of basketball, and then we're going to play in a fall league. Some kids in August will go, which I suggest them do, go play in some elite college camps to try to get some exposure that way and learn some things. And then we go through that process, and then tryouts are in November. And then we go through the season. We do pretty well in our district. We've lost one game the last 2 years in our district. So I really try to challenge us by going to Boo Williams or play against some higher caliber competition to get us prepared for the playoffs. The season is done like this year, March 9. And then the girls probably have a week or two where we're trying to really get them drinking a lot of water, stretching. But AAU starts right after that in the month of April. And so there are 5 weekends from April to July where they have to be, because that's where these coaches will be out recruiting. And so my daughter's playing with Team Durant, EYBL this year. So these will be the best players in the country, the biggest schools in the country. She'll be in Virginia Beach this weekend. Next month we'll be in Des Moines, Iowa. And then in the month of June, there's a high school live period where all the girls come back and they can play in front of college coaches, but they have to be in their high school uniforms. So we'll go up to Maryland in June and play in front of college coaches. And then July, they're back with their AAU teams. And she will be in Kentucky and she will be in Chicago. And then that's it. July is over, and then we're back in August repeat.
Coach, you've got 4 daughters. You're going to be doing this with all 4 of them?
My 12-year-old was about 5'6", and she's playing at the middle school right now. She plays in my pro skills program. Now, I'm not a proponent of kids while they're learning, traveling all over the place. You can get beat by 30 right here in Richmond. We're going to learn how to play basketball. There's plenty of competition here. There's plenty of teams, plenty of people come here, especially with this new facility that they just built in Henrico. Now, once we get to a point where we're being competitive and some kids have some recruitability, then we'll venture out and play in some of these bigger tournaments. But my 8-year-old plays softball, and she played with the 4th and 5th graders at Rec this year. And then I have a 6-year-old who just wondering why she isn't out there playing for somebody right now. So my wife was a softball player, but she played basketball in high school. This is just our life, man. We wake up, we work, and we sports.
Well, I love it. Kevin and Kenny are messaging me. They want to ask one more question apiece, but before they do that, I thought I had more females in my family than anybody. Like, my dad has 2 sisters. My son has 2 sisters. I have a son, right? My mom has a sister, no brothers. Like, I've been surrounded by women my entire life. And you and I are the only 2 girl dads here, Coach. I think that makes us better people.
I think so, though, for sure. For sure. If it's one thing that will turn a man into a man, is having a daughter. Try 4. No, a lot of things come into perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's get serious in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yes. God bless both of you. God bless both of you for that. I got 3 boys, and it's I'm happy with that. But God bless you guys. So, Coach, the recent and I'm going to call it an explosion in women's college basketball. The hype around it, the viewership has increased. It seems to have become more exciting. How has your team been reacting to that? Are they really excited about it? Do they talk more about it, or has it been something they've always talked about?
Man, if I'm being honest, it feels like I'm at the right place at the right time. If I'm just being 100% honest, I didn't see myself doing this, but we are right in line with everything that's going on. And to be blessed with 4 daughters that they spent their whole lives around basketball. It's not so much me saying you're going to play basketball than it is my 2 of my daughters were born in France. My 2 oldest saw me play, especially my oldest one. I used to go get her from the stands. This is just a part of what they do, right? They're outside in the backyard shooting, and they're calling themselves girls who are on my high school team. And one of the conversations that I had with the girls on our team when I first started was we had a conversation about how disenfranchised female athletes are and the things that they don't get and the eyes that aren't open to the women's plights in basketball or sports in general. And then I'm very real with my players. And so we had just beat somebody by 80. And so I asked them, I said, would you have paid money to go see that team play? They all start laughing. Like, no, we wouldn't pay to go see that play. I said, well, now you understand why people don't pay to go see girls play basketball. And they thought about it for a second. I said, now, I'm not saying that everything that you just said isn't true. But if you want people to come in here and watch you play, they shouldn't be coming here to watch you play because you're a woman. They should be coming here to watch you play because they're fans of the skills that you have on the court and you're doing something that you've been working at. And when they leave the gym, they're like, hey, you got to come see this. And so to start the first year with 15 people in the stands, and then we go play Thomasdale at Thomasdale, and I pull up and there's a literal line wrapped around the building and they sell over 1,300 tickets in a regional championship game, girls basketball. Man, we are a part of the growth on our own level. Seeing little girls come up to the kids, come up to our players after the state championship game, little rec players asking for autographs and taking pictures with them. It's awesome, man. So I just feel like we're in the right place at the right time.
I love it. I agree.
Yeah, and the access. So I went to the A10 tournament at the Henrico Sports Center, and the access to all of the girls that were these D1 big time A10 girls, and you're right there. You can say hi. They hang out. There's a lot to be said about that access now to the females, and it's a closer knit group to their fans now because they have the ability to do that. So, question for you, Coach, because you got to start thinking about it. I mean, you're Coach of the Year last year, right? And I know you're going to be in Manchester as long as you want. But where would be your dream college to coach? What would be your dream university to coach for? And out of all of your girls, where would you hope that they go to play basketball, play basketball in college?
Well, I didn't sign up to coach now, right? Like I didn't sign up to do this, man. I really feel
when the offer comes in and your wife sees it, you got to go coach college basketball. We know how this goes.
Yes, but I feel like I'm in my calling, right? I describe it as following the breadcrumbs. That's what I'm doing. Like there's more weird. We could be talking here for 2 hours about the weird coincidences that have happened. Like I live in the house of the all-time leading scorer at that high school. That has the basketball court in the back she played on. She played at Virginia Tech. She's one of the greatest shooters. Now my daughter it's just, this is being lined up by something more powerful than me, right? So I do know with success comes options. And as those options come, I'll be looking for the best fit. Like me and my wife literally looked at a map of Chesterfield when we were moving back to the States because I did not want to move here. I did not want to move to Midlothian, Virginia. I did not. But we literally looked at a map and found the most diverse part of Chesterfield and said, let's live there. And everything else just kind of lined up, right? So I'm just paying attention. When it starts shining over here, I'm going to go that direction. So I'll know what's right when it comes. And for my daughters, it's the same thing. Use basketball to better your future. And find the best fit for you. It's not about how big the school is. I know a lot of kids want to play at the big time universities, but And if she gets that opportunity and it's the right situation for her, go get it. But when you look at South Carolina, there's a lot of girls on that bench that never take that top off, and they're all Americans. I like to let kids understand that, you know, college sports, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And so that decision is very important.
Have you had some big time coaches from college come visit you and your players?
Yes, like in the fall, we'll have a baseline full of coaches. Now it helps when you have Mia Woolfolk on your team that's dominating the way she dominated. But they come to our games. We got invited to 2 national tournaments next year. So we'll go play in one of those in front of a lot of college coaches. I'm consistently on the phone with coaches who have seen our kids play in AAU tournaments, just asking more about them. So with success has definitely come more recognition. And then the basketball world is very, very small. It's very, very small. I'm 43 years old. The coaches are in their 40s. I play Division I basketball. I play professional basketball. So once you start talking to coaches, you're 1 person, 2 people, 3 people removed everywhere, all across the board. So that is also something that works in my favor. Like once they learn my background, or once I'm talking to a college coach and we have a mutual connection, the conversation is a little different after that.
When you were in, I'm getting away from high school here for a second. When you were in France, were you keeping up with what was happening in the NBA?
Yes, but it's a 6-hour time difference. Right. So everything is delayed. And you got to remember, like when I first went overseas, it was 2003. No social media. When you calling back home, with a calling card. Like when you're gone for real. Like it was like MySpace happened like what, 2007, right? Something like that. You know what I mean? So like how easy it is to just jump on here and do this. It wasn't like that. And I retired in 2016. So I was, I got to experience some of that. But once I kind of like was there for like 3 years, and we had our first daughter, Rain was born in 2007. It was over. I was in France. We didn't even come back. We came back for like 6 weeks during the summer, and then we lived exclusively over there.
So,
all right, Coach.
Paul,
yeah, go ahead.
Before you go, one more question real quick, because you just brought up the NBA. Coach, who? I'm going to ask this differently than I asked our last guest. Who in your mind is the GOAT?
Michael Jordan. That ain't a question. That ain't even no conversation.
Thought I'd ask,
Hey, I'm sorry for that question. Kevin is a UNC fan. He tries to slip that in every time, and we have to remind him the name of our podcast is Virginia is for Sports.
Right. Well, look, this is the easiest way to answer that question. Just ask it in reverse, and you get the answer. Who's the one player that's never out of the GOAT discussion?
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah, you're right about that. So, Kevin,
how big is Kobe on influence, Coach?
Man, I mean, that's actually kind of weird, man, because Kobe has 4 daughters, and he lived in Italy and then came to the States. I have 4 daughters, was living overseas, came to the States. I was not the biggest Kobe fan at first, but I did wear 8 when I first got overseas. I didn't like the fact that he copied Michael Jordan. I'm a big Michael Jordan fan. But as he got better and how technical he was and how psychopathic he is about the work, I was attracted to that. And I'm a 6'5" shooting guard, right? So, and then once what I saw, what he started doing with the women's game, like the women's game lost a huge ally when he passed. If he was still around, he would have had such a huge impact on women's basketball. So in my own little way, in my own little corner, I'm doing my part when it comes to what I feel like he was doing with the women's game. And I'm in a very similar position with 4 daughters.
Yeah, I really feel like we're feeling the Kobe influence of the women's game right now. Like you said, with the timing of everything.
Yes.
Yeah, Coach, I just met you, but if my daughters are high school age and we lived in the Manchester area, I'd love for them to play for you, man.
We're gonna work hard, though. It ain't for everybody. Like it ain't like like that's it's like when you have success. I challenge those girls. We run like I test them mentally. They test me too. Like I have to grow. I have to grow to be a good coach. But like it is very rewarding to see kids lock in and sacrifice and really push themselves to be better and actually produce something, do something greater than themselves. It's pretty awesome to see.
And those lessons will stay with them for their entire lives.
Yes.
All right, cool, Coach. We'll wrap it up with the Mount Rushmore question I gave you in advance, so you should be prepared for this question. Any level that you played, high school, college, pro, the 4 best players you went against.
That's a tough one. If you ask me one person, this person I would say every time, Flip Murray. I don't know if you know who that is. His actual name is Ronald Murray. I see you, Flip. But his actual name is Ronald Murray. I think he's from the Philadelphia area. Played at Shaw University, Division II, but he played in the NBA for, I don't know, 13 years or something like that. Was top 10 in scoring with the Supersonics for a little while when Ray Allen got hurt. But I played against him every summer in the summer league. So in the Raleigh-Durham area, there's a summer league that they have every year called the Chavis League. And so everybody that you can think of that has ever played at Carolina, ever played at Duke, ever played at NC State, North Carolina Central, from that triangle area, we're just all in the gym going to get it every summer. And then Flip was just outstanding. Nicholas Batum, I got to play against Batum right before he got drafted. I knew he was a pro. I mean, 6'8", long. It wasn't really anything he couldn't do.
Smooth, man.
Yeah. He was a problem. I knew he was gonna be pretty good. PJ Tucker is from the Raleigh area. We played against each other almost every summer. We're around the same age. He's just very tenacious. You know what I mean? Like guys that are extremely physical and aggressive, always going to bring the best out of me. Like that, I love that energy when we're competing.
Did he talk about your shoes?
Say what?
Did he talk trash about your shoes or anything?
No, and that's not even a conversation I have with PJ because he has every shoe ever known to man. He will play basketball and whatever he feels like playing basketball. He's on a whole nother level with the shoes.
Shoe game strong, for real.
Yes. Then I'm gonna say my best friend Ricardo Marsh that I grew up with. He played with me at ODU. Heck of a basketball player, assistant coach at Virginia State right now. We competed against each other all the time, pushing each other to be better. And then another great friend of mine, a guy I was telling y'all about named J.J. Miller, played at North Carolina A&T, played 15 years professionally. He held the record in Cameron Indoor for a while. He might still hold it for the most points scored by opposing player. He gave like Jason Williamson and Chris Duhon and them 32 in there. His senior year, like it's about 6-foot guard, but really explosive, really skilled. And I know I'm leaving some guys out because I mean, when you play basketball as long as I did, you just play against so many talented guys. But that's the 5 I'm going with.
All right, right on. Coach, I guess the most appropriate thing to do to close this out is actually for you to give us a view of what the team's going to be like next season, next winter for Manchester.
I think everybody's role is going to have to take a step forward. We worked out today, so we have spring workouts worked out today, and so we do return a lot of players. We lose a huge impact player in Mia Wolf. You cannot easily replace 20 and 10. And just her IQ and how dominant of a player she was. We lost a heck of a leader in Leah Hampton, our point guard. She's going to play at Barton College next year. But when you also play with an imposing force, like let's take the Lakers, for example, when Shaq was there, the ball has to go to Shaq. Like that's what we're doing. But when Shaq was no longer there, you saw everybody else's game blossom. I think a lot of people will be surprised of the talent that a lot of our guards have. We played a certain way, we'll play a different way next year. And we have a couple surprises that'll be there next year too. So
yes,
we don't need to give those away, that's for sure. Well, hey, Coach, thanks so much for doing this. I'm going to have you on Stories from the Center of the Universe, the other podcast, if you're willing to do that too. I'd love to tell a fuller story about you. And then we talked about maybe having you and Mia come on or you and Rain come on as a separate interview.
We definitely can do that. I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, thanks a lot, Coach.
No problem.
We'll see you soon.
Later. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Cool. That Coach was awesome.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah, and he's huge around here with the.
Hold on. That GOAT question. Kevin, you knew what he was going to say.
No, I didn't.
'Cause
I didn't
that's
know.
the right answer, though. That's why he
I mean, I had a
asked. I mean, he's
feeling.
from Greensboro too. He's from North Carolina. He knows he's not too far
So,
from where.
so
Jordan.
Paul, you weren't when we interviewed Anthony. I asked that question. I said, well, actually, I asked it as LeBron or MJ, and K-Dub and I were thinking, you know what? Why not find out what everybody thinks if they're basketball guys, right? And Anthony,
yeah.
I love to hear what people think. Just he could have said LeBron, and it would have been fine, or whoever he would have said.
Yes.
But
Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. That's the one thing I wanted to say about that is people talk about everybody was the next Michael Jordan, like Grant Hill, the Harold Miner. Everybody was the next Michael Jordan. They always wanted to put that tag on guys. None of those guys ever became good friends and little brothers to Michael Jordan and emulated him and said, how do I try to make this better? That's what Kobe was good at. He was like, that's the best dude ever. Why not copy him? Like everybody else tried to have their own version of their game, but sorry for
every basketball guy we're going to ask that question.
say again, Paul.
Every basketball guy we're going to ask that question.
Who knows? It might slip out of my mouth for whoever it is on the podcast.
Well, I was going to say you're saying for basketball guys, but Anthony's more of a football baseball guy, isn't he? I mean, I know he played basketball in high school, right? But
I mean, we are a sports podcast, so I think we could ask everybody, to be honest.
It's really hard
to make you. Hey, I'll do it just to get you fired up.
Look, if Jordan were from Virginia or the greatest basketball player was from Virginia, then I'd understand doing that every episode.
Well, we can say Ralph Sampson or Michael Jordan if you want.
Or we
put
just
Ralph up there. He's on my Mount Rushmore.
It's a North Carolina answer every time. Or Italy. We can go with Kobe in Italy or LeBron in Ohio.
Oh boy.
Do we have somebody lined up for next week?
I'll tell you what, we'll start asking whether Wally Lancaster was better than Del Curry in college. I'll do those questions.
It's insane the amount of times Del Curry comes up in conversation with you.
I love that guy.
Obviously.
He was
underrated.
He was the original 3-point.
I can't tell that you love him.
Nice.
I'm Curry that you do, though.
Hey, let's close out talking about the Hall of Fame thing this weekend. Coach hopped on a couple minutes early. So there's a breakfast 9 a.m. With the inductees, the 9 inductees. Among them are Chris Long, Craig Littlepage, Jill Ellis, Paul Woody, Hal Nunley, a guy I watched Coach at Randolph-Macon. He passed away 20 years ago. Will Driscoll, the executive director, said Hal Nunley has over 100 people coming 20 years after his death. I mean, that's real impact kind of stuff. So anyway, we get KW, me, and 7 other guys are going to be there for the breakfast/Q&A, and then there's an autograph session, I think around 10:30, lasts about an hour. And then there's the ceremony that lasts about 2 hours later that night, all at the Henrico Sports and Events Center is the official name of that place. But KW, you've been there a couple times. They've got some pretty cool things going on there.
Yeah, it's sweet. I mean, big. They've got an entire wall dedicated to Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Every induction class listed on there, and plenty of displays with Johnny Newman stuff and a lot of the inductees' actual memorabilia. So I'm a big fan of it because I love sports memorabilia, but obviously it's all Virginia stuff, and I'm so stoked to be able to go. I mean, big shout out to Will. He's been nothing but super nice to us, and we really appreciate it. And we're hoping we can, help him, and it's going to be an awesome event. Hey, so PG, you and I are going, so I'm thinking about what memorabilia I'm going to have. I think they're passing out something with all the inductees, so you can get that signed. So I think I'll get that all signed by everybody and throw that up in my background eventually. But I was I've been listening to Greenlight, Chris Long's podcast. I don't know if you guys listened to it at all.
I have too. Yep.
Hilarious. And he just had Van Pelt on there, and Van Pelt told a story about Chris Long and gambling, playing blackjack, and said he had an ace 5 and said he was safe. It was a hilarious story. So I might take a ace 5 combo and tape it together and see if I can get Chris Long to sign that.
Nice.
I think that'd be pretty funny, kind of an inside joke.
Well, especially because the Van Pelt episode just came out recently, right?
Right. But yeah, and it's a funny story. I mean, like Van Pelt tells it, like, who says I'm safe on a 6 playing blackjack?
Flip, you raised your hand.
No, I was just going to comment on the wall of fame that they have up in the Henrico Sports Center. It just you can stand there for 30 minutes and read the names and reminisce. It's pretty cool.
Well, it's one thing, and Will may not like me saying this, but it's decently represented across the state. But because the Sports Hall of Fame for our state has been, it started in Hampton Roads. There was an actual giant museum. I mean, tens of thousands of square feet in Portsmouth. There's a real Tidewater, Hampton Roads influence. Their players certainly outside of that region, but this is the first time it's going to be in Henrico. I think we were talking about that as Coach was coming on. And look, there's a nomination process. In order to nominate, you got to give $35 as an individual member, and you can go through the process and nominate who you want to nominate. And I threw some names at Will a few weeks ago. I think we were together, and he's like, nope, he's not in. Nope, he's not in. I'm like, are you kidding me? How are those guys not in? And I get it. It's a Hall of Fame. You should only let the best 9 in or 8 in or 10 in every year. But, I mean, there's some folks around Richmond. I know there's some folks in Northern Virginia that I can't believe they're not in. So I'm nominating one this year. I think, Kevin, you're going to nominate one. And KW, I think you are too.
Yeah, I am for sure. I'm excited about it. I mean, again, I just can't say enough how super awesome Will has been, man. Just to be able to have access and, sit at that breakfast and then be able to go to the induction ceremony. Mike Rhodes is a Randolph-Macon Penn State coach now, but ties to Hal Nunnally and Randolph-Macon. So, I mean, I just imagine the amount of sports legends that are just going to be in Henrico this Saturday. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean,
Insane.
So look, if you didn't listen to the Will Driscoll episode, the 4 names he threw at me outside of the inductees, Ralph Sampson, you mentioned Mike Rhodes, Gary Williams, head basketball coach at Maryland when they won the whole thing back in 2002. He's got a connection to Hal Nunnally. And then Chris Long's dad, Howie, is going to be there. K-Dub, it's going to be interesting to see who goes up to Howie and tries to do a 1-minute interview with him, you or me.
I'm not afraid. Look,
I'm maybe
I might have to go through Kyle
afraid.
or Chris to get there, but
yeah, we'll go through your guy Joey to get to Chris, and then Chris to Howie.
people are people, man. You treat superstars like they're normal people, and
yeah,
it's probably more rare that they get that than anything else.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cool.
Think about how popular Coach Wright is in France. You walk the streets of France with that dude. People know him.
Oh, he's 13 years there, and he speaks the language. They love him over there.
Yeah,
no way they
I
don't.
think he averaged like 15, 16 points a game over there. And I should have asked him, but I think you could only have like 2 American players per team. Like they limit the amount of that from what I've heard for the international game. So to be over there 13 years, I mean, he was a team player and a baller.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep.
And
Cool.
that's what he's coaching up here.
All right, cool. Hey, can we hang on to just talk for a few minutes about some stuff that Kevin and I talked about earlier in the week? Is that cool?
You mean after we end this recording? So now I have to edit the end so we can edit this part out? Or should I just hit end recording?
Just leave it in.